Creative slowdown is a real thing that is hard to control, and most often all our attempts to rush it result in frustration and annoyance with ourselves. I haven't drawn or painted or collaged anything properly in weeks, and although I felt a little kicks of inner art tyrant telling me that I'm just being lazy while everyone around is actively engaging in productive summer art, my self-compassionate side calmed me down, telling that it's actually okay, there is no need to force the living creative matter. It will get back to me, one way or another. And it did, in the form of these two art journals that I'm going to show to you today to illustrate how I use low-effort art journaling to support my sensitive and easily overwhelmed nervous system. It's a self-therapy tool for me, where curiosity, intuitive experiment, and self-expression are more important than artistic skills, realism, or likeness of the end result. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Anna, and I started this channel to share art journaling tips and inspirations, and also how I build my personal art practice for self-exploration. I also have a second YouTube channel with monthly-ish essays on intentional living, and I have a Patreon community where I post new videos every week about my life and creativity here in Novi Sad, Serbia. Also, Patreon is a platform where I offer guided art journaling adventures. The first one was held in spring and the recording is still available. And in the second half of August, I'm going to host another art journaling adventure. So if you're interested to join, all the links will be down below. The intention behind this art journal was to ask myself what's going on inside of me and then see what is revealed. I used stencil printing and collage techniques, simple thin office paper, black and red office ink in ink pads, and an art book about Leonardo da Vinci. I didn't have any initial idea in mind, and I created layer by layer. First, I've made patterned papers using stencil printing, and I just applied randomly cut out shapes for creating all these textures. And I didn't think about what I'm making and how each page will match another page. I just let my hands speak. And once I've made how many pages? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sheets of A4 paper printed on both sides. So once they were done, I just put them together, sewed them, and that's it. The space was created, the environment, so to speak, and I decided to add a character representing me, of course, because I was exploring myself in this art journal. I've created a silhouette using this art book that I bought in the damaged book section in a local store with a plan to use it for collages. So I've used one of the reproductions there to create a stencil and then red ink to let the character inhabit the art journal. While creating the environment, patterned pages, I still couldn't envision what it's all about. But once I added the characters, everything has become much clearer. And I began to feel that special buzzing thing inside, like the curiosity and excitement when I saw how the story was unfolding already there. And the third layer that I added in this art journal was the collaged layer. So I used the colored elements that earlier I utilized for creating texture pictures, so I added them here and on the last page. And I also used another reproduction from the same book, just to add a little bit of humanness and aliveness to the art journal, and also to tie the beginning and the end together. After I finished the collage layer, I still felt that something was missing, and I've decided to add words. I didn't feel like writing something myself, and this is quite normal on low energy days and during so-called creative slowdown. It's just you can find it so hard to create something from scratch, but it doesn't mean that you cannot utilize other creative ways. So I took the book again, took my cutting knife and cut out words that caught my eye without thinking. There were maybe 15 or 20 of them. And then I let it go even more random. I blindly picked one word for each page from that pile, and I glued everything in here, and only then I flipped through the resulting art journal and I read all the layers together as one thing, and I saw a story that I was telling to myself, and I saw the answer to my question that I've made before making it about what's going on inside of me. And here is what I said to myself. Aware of something that is happening, yet is hard to express. Observed the environment and myself in it. Felt as if being outside of the world, isolated at times. Changes in life called for changing the perspective. It was an invitation to have a conversation with myself. Continuously unfolding process of finding what matters. Movement that never stops, even when it feels like it's no longer happening. Complete cycle of feeling lost and found again. Between. This last page and the word that I've chosen is hard for me to interpret, so I've decided to leave it linger as it is. Some people might say that this type of interpretation of one's own art can be too woo-woo-ish, but who cares? I don't shy away from acknowledging that personal art practice is a deeply meaningful process, which often overlaps with the philosophy and psychology and even tads of mysticism. But it's a whole another topic to discuss. This art journal has become yet another much-needed conversation with myself. I felt seen and also more at peace because I saw that my seemingly random choices result in a cohesive story that reflected my current state of mind. If you decide to try this type of self-therapeutic art journaling, I highly recommend following the layered approach, creating everything layer by layer, taking one upon the other, starting with making the environment, then inhabiting it with a character of your choice, then maybe adding collage or some drawing or scribbles, you decide, and then maybe some other objects. For example, here I had a slight idea of maybe introducing some stamping on each page, but then I decided not to. And then as a final layer of meaning, you can add words. In my situation, I used a variant of the so-called tinmancy technique that I've invented and that I've described in quite a few previous videos on this channel, and I'm still in love with it. But of course, all this is a gentle suggestion. You can figure out your own formula of layers. So yeah, it's all up to you. But now let me show you the second art journal that I've created using the same layered approach, but this art journal is a more light-hearted one. It's just a fun story and exploration of plants that I've met on a short summer walk. I picked them up, placed them in a tin, and at home I created prints with them on separate sheets of paper using the same office ink pads that I've used before and that I adore. I used water to add a little bit of fluidity to the prints. Then I was like, these plants do have character, so why not revealing it through collage elements? And I added human parts to them from a vintage book and Serbian newspapers that I have in my stash. The final layer was again about words. I felt more creative energy on that day, so I wrote a short text myself just to give this story a little bit more shape and structure. I printed the words using a very cool tiny set of letter stamps and a transparent tracing paper. Then I sewed the sheets together and glued a piece of green linen scrap on top of it. There is no any deep meaning in this journal, no philosophical context. It was a fun and joyful and pressure-free adventure through which I've shown to myself that it's so nice to add some humor and fun to my everyday art practice, and I cannot think of a better technique to have a little love with art than collaging, because playing with angles and combining different pieces, in this exact situation, pieces of humans, it feels so satisfying and so much fun. I am a naturally quite melancholic person. I've always been like this, and that's why I find it difficult to nurture more lightness inside, and this is where this type of art journaling can become a wonderful tool. You can choose to depict any experience or impression of yours. For example, you can choose to depict a collection of your groceries and attaching human eyes to them, or you can depict your pot plants and make them have a conversation with each other. You can choose anything like that and just have fun and add a little bit of love and lightheartedness to your art practice. And probably this is more close to zine making process, but the difference is very tiny. In my blog on Substack, I offer text versions of my videos, and I also post exclusive articles there that are not mentioned on YouTube, such as my article about redefining the idea of creative consistency and why our art journaling shouldn't be turned into yet another daily chore. And all the content there is for free, just as all videos on my YouTube channels, both of them, and all this is possible thanks to the support that I get from the Patreon community and from those people who decide to tip me on different tipping platforms. Even on the days when you don't have energy to engage into high-effort art making, you can still create something that will spark curiosity and eventually lead to a conversation with yourself about things you didn't know you needed to explore. I hope that this video inspired you to try low-effort art journaling as a form of self-therapy. If yes, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, dear fellow creatives. I'm wishing you a soft and kind end of summer or winter, depending on where you're living. And I encourage you to find at least some time for a deep or fun, light-hearted or more philosophical self-exploration through art journaling. And I will see you very soon in the next video. Пока-пока!